Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.
Iowa lawmakers convene next week in Des Moines for the 2018 session, and your taxes will be at the center debate. Plus, baby, it's cold outside. Will it stay this cold through the season in the cities? Many of you hate the cold weather, and it has been brutally cold this season. The real question might be, how long is it going to last, and why did it get this cold in the first place? But first, Iowa lawmakers will hit the road next week to work on a legion of issues affecting citizens. Just as last year, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. And Republican leaders say they didn't accomplish everything they wanted to complete in last year's term. At the top of the list, tax reform. Joining us is Democratic State Senator Rita Hart, who serves northern Scott and much of Clinton counties, and Republican State Representative Ross Paustian, who serves an area that includes Walcott, Bluegrass, Eldridge, and a sliver of northern Davenport. Welcome both. I'll start with you, Senator. I mean, we're talking about the budget issues being one of the main issues as well. That's what you think is going to be the first thing that you're going to face when you walk in the door in Des Moines?
I think that's clear. We have to start right away by looking at some cuts that we'll have to make in order to meet this year's budget. And so the budget is going to be front and center throughout this session, I believe.
Well, let's talk a little bit. The budget for and income, revenue for the state of Iowa is so dependent on the farm economy. Some good news was that farm income grew at 3.9% last year in Iowa. Perhaps not great, but better than some had thought. Will that ease some of the budget concerns, you think, going into 2018?
Let's hope. You know, it all comes down to how the dollars trickle in when we figure out how the taxes have affected and how that various income comes through. And so that's a positive thing that we hope is going to help us out a little bit, because we certainly could use some help. What
are your thoughts on the budget as far as possibly trimming, if not cutting, Representative Paustian?
Yeah, well, we do see revenue growth in Iowa. It's just not as much as what the Revenue Estimating Committee has told us it would be. So that's kind of been our problem the last few years. Growth hasn't been as much as they told us it would be, and so we have to cut back on our budget in order to make it balance.
And we already have problems with the 2017 budget. A Democratic lawmaker is filing suit against the governor and a top aide in regards to transferring some funds to make sure the 2017 dollars meet. Do you think that's just playing politics, or is there something to this?
Absolutely. It's unfortunate that Representative Hall would do something like this right before session starts. So it's just political stunt. He's done several of these in the past and never comes to anything, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with this. But Representative Hall has complained about how we handled the budget, yet he had voted for probably $1 billion of increased spending over the last few years. So it's not really fair to compare that.
Do you think, Senator, is that like a dead fish that's sitting at the front of the Capitol steps when you start a new session? It's like, oh, okay, we're going to start with this lawsuit in regards to last year's budget.
I think it just brings attention to the fact that we are in a budget crunch, that we have to be smart about how we approach that, and we got to make sure that everybody is doing it the way it's supposed to be done. So if that brings attention to that, and if we can find new solutions to that, I think that will be a good thing for the state of Iowa in the long run.
Republican leaders say that this is the year for tax reform, especially now that the federal tax reform has been finished. That was kind of going to be the blueprint, at least on an idea on how Republicans could do it in Iowa. What do you see there? I mean, do you favor the federal tax changes, and do you see that's going to help Iowans?
Yeah, I do favor that and supported that. We need to look at how that affects Iowa and our tax structure and move forward with that.
What's the biggest inequity in Iowa that you see then? Do you want to see more business tax credit, more business tax cuts, more property tax relief? How do you see a reformed taxing process in Iowa?
I think tax cuts for everyone, not just business, but and also not. There's been so much talk about tax credits. I don't think we need to increase tax credits. We need to look at the tax credits that are working, and the ones that aren't working, we need to get rid of them And so that's what we're going to be looking at this year.
If you want tax cuts across the board, where does the revenue increases come? Where do you support the programs that exist then?
Yeah, that's the question. And I think House Republicans are going to be a little more cautious than maybe the Senate Republicans on tax reform. We don't want to affect revenue too much and throw our budget way out of whack. So we're going to try to look at how we balance that.
I ask you also, when you take a look at what some of the states have done as far as tax cuts are concerned, and you really look at your neighbor like Kansas, which did that about 4 years ago, virtually bankrupt, if not bankrupt the state. Is that a lesson on what not to do?
Yeah, I think it is. I think they went overboard on it, but you need to just do everything in moderation. So I think that's what we'll be looking at. We'll be cautious about that.
Well, Senator, I know everyone believes in tax cuts, some tax relief for taxpayers. What is responsible new tax legislation in your mind?
I think we're all in favor of it if it's smart, if it's targeted, if it truly gets the results we want to get. I'm encouraged to hear Representative Poston say that they are not going to follow the pattern of Kansas, because we can see that that was a failed experiment, that we can't cut ourselves into prosperity. And that's the bottom line. We have to make good decisions that truly encourage revenue rather than just simply try to get reelected because we're cutting people's taxes and making them feel like we're doing them a favor, when in the long run we end up with a deficit, and then we have to cut services in order to make ends meet.
We have seen the state do some very serious tax incentives to businesses. When you think of the high tech for Google, but also the Iowa fertilizer plant down south of Burlington, where massive amounts of state money was used in order to create jobs. Is that paying off in the long run?
I think that's something we need to look at very carefully. I think many of us are in agreement with that we need to take a long, hard look at those tax incentives and make sure that, again, that we're not just giving things away, but that we're actually setting up a system that returns because of those tax incentives. And they should be designed in a way where they get the tax incentives if certain criterion actually comes into play.
And that sometimes is easier said than done, Representative. I mean, you know that companies, sometimes it's a gamble for the state to invest in helping some companies that may not perform.
Yeah. The problem is it's the competition between states, and so almost falling over each other trying to give these incentives to get these businesses to come. I would think we need to look at our overall tax structure and make our state look more competitive from an overall tax structure instead of throwing out all these incentives all the time.
You take a look at incentives, and you take a look at industrial and business and manufacturing job creation in the state of Iowa. The unemployment rate is falling below 4%, which is almost close to total employment at this point.
Right.
It seems like what Iowa's biggest problem may be is we see so many young people leaving the state that we're not retaining a population. If you're close to full employment, but you're still losing people, what else can you do?
Yeah, job training is a big issue, and when we have these good high-paying jobs coming in, we got to have the people to fill those positions, and so job training has been critical.
So, but still, we're seeing cuts at community colleges, and we're seeing cuts in the university system. I mean, is that sustainable?
No, we need to take a look at that and try to maintain what we're doing now without cutting too much.
Been a lot of discussion, particularly about secondary education, before you even get to the community college and the college level. What reforms do you hope to see for education? And you know about the city of Davenport and the ongoing crisis, so to speak, there, and the use of reserve funds by Dr. Tate and the Davenport school system. Is something like that going to be resolved this year? It's been close, 11th hour deals in the last 2 sessions that pretty well fell through.
So we passed legislation off the Senate floor last year to address that situation, and the House did not take it up. So I'm hoping that Representative Poston leads the fight there and brings that to the table. I'm encouraged again to hear him say that he's interested in investing more in community colleges. We have to invest from middle school on if we're truly going to do what we're talking about, increasing that skilled worker shortage and making the state a place where people stay, where they come back to take those interesting jobs. Then we have to invest in the kinds of classroom work that takes place from middle school on through the community colleges. And the other thing that I'll mention that I think is important for retaining population, because that truly is an important issue for Iowa, that we increase our population. Iowa has a great quality of life, and we need to sell that. We have a lot of small towns that can do some wonderful things for quality of life. We need to invest in those small towns, and we need to invest in entrepreneurship. We need to invest in small businesses. That's how small towns can revitalize and how they can retain the people that they have and create the kind of quality of life that other people want to share.
Right now, the state, as you well know, doesn't allow school districts to dip into their reserve funds to pay for basic education. Dr. Tate from the Davenport School District did just that. He's got a hearing next month in February that could determine whether or not he gets to keep his license and whether or not he gets to stay as superintendent. Was Dr. Tate wrong? And do you think that the legislature will do something to address this session?
I really think highly of Dr. Tate. He's just, all he cares about is kids, and that's the important thing. And this has been a tough issue. I don't know what's going to happen with the state education board. That's out of our hands now. The bill that the Senate sent over to us, it died in the House because we knew there wasn't enough money to fund that. I think it was kind of unfortunate the Senate sent it over to us, and the Senate said, hey, we did this, but they knew all along it wasn't going to go anywhere because there was no money for it. I don't know if they're going to get anything done this year. There's so many districts around the state that aren't pushing for change in that. And a lot of districts, their big concern is transportation costs.
For rural districts in particular.
For them, it's a bigger deal than the 175. Some of those districts have $500 or $600 per student more in cost than the state average. So that's a big deal there. And so trying to fix both of those things at the same time is tough.
But is it doable?
And should it be? Anything's doable. Yeah, no, it should be fixed, but I don't know when that's going to happen.
Our last moments here, what do you think is the biggest priority for you in this coming session? What are you particularly going to fight for?
Right now, well, of course, the biggest thing we always do is the budget, like Rita said. But the other thing is the water quality bill. I think we want to get that done hopefully within the first couple of weeks of session.
And that seems to have bipartisan support.
Yeah, and we're what I'm favoring, and I think what we're going to try to pass in the House is the Senate bill that they sent over last year. That's a live bill yet. All we got to do is vote on it, send it down to the governor's office, and then we'll have that taken care of. So that's what I'm looking. That's one of the big things I'm looking for this year.
Senator, do you agree with that?
I agree that that's a high priority, and the Senate bill is still alive. It's not a perfect bill. It's a bill that I offered an amendment on because I think we should have worked on this together in a bipartisan fashion over the interim to really come up with some good, solid solutions for the water quality issue. I had a water quality summit earlier in the summertime to bring everybody together, to bring the experts in, to have farmers and city people and interested citizens really talk about this issue because it's complicated, it's not easy, and it's expensive. And so we need real bipartisan conversation surrounding that. I haven't seen that. I don't know that there's a bill that, other than the Senate bill that we took up last year that is not perfect, I haven't seen that we've had that kind of a discussion. I'm hoping that there's some opportunity to do that yet before we actually pass something this session.
Senator Rita Hart, Representative Ross Pauschin, thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it. Good luck this session.
Thank you.
We hope to hear from both of you at the end of it, if that's all right.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
In a moment, keeping an eye on the Eagles. But first, Laura Adams kicks off the new year with a look at some of the events that could keep you warm when you go out and about.
This is Out and About for January 1st through 7th. Hi, I'm Laura Adams. Join the 2018 Resolution Run 5K benefiting Youth Hope. This outdoor road race will start and finish at the Moline Youth Hope Center. Stay for the indoor post party for prizes, awards, hot cocoa, and more. While Bald Eagle Days is celebrated January 5th through 7th at the QCCA Expo Center in Rock Island. It's the largest event of its kind with over 100 display booths. Visit the spotting scopes set up and manned by the Quad City Audubon Society at Sunset Marina in Rock Island for great eagle watching. Plus, there's free shuttle bus service from the Expo Center. Or join a naturalist for a guided hike along the trails at Nahant Marsh. Hikes are offered on the first Saturday of the month and give visitors an opportunity to experience the environmental changes as the plants and wildlife adapt to the seasons. It's time for the 15th annual Wedding Max Bridal Show at the Tax Slayer Center coming January 6th Tickets are $10 at the door. Or learn how to kick off your new year at the Interactive Lifestyle Forum coming January 6th to the Radisson Hotel in downtown Davenport. The Speakeasy presents Viva La Divas with special guest Miss Dina Cass. Viva La Divas includes unforgettable production numbers as well as many entertaining individual numbers with all the glitz and glamour you would expect. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. Musician Alan Sweet is known as the frontman for the Candy Makers, but we caught up with him as he took the stage by himself at the River Music Experience. Here's Alan Sweet with Run Back.
I can't decide where I wanna go or who I wanna be. All I know is I wanna be next to you, make you feel like I feel it too. Just come running back to me. I can't decide where I wanna go or who I wanna be. All I know is I wanna sing for you as loud as I can for you. If you would come running back to me as fast as you can. Oh, and I'll be waiting for that feeling to come again. Oh, and I'll be waiting for that feeling to show me the way. Ooh, into your arms. I can't decide where you want me to go or who you want me to be. All I know is I'll be next to you. I'll cross the ocean for you. Just come running back to me as fast as you can, baby. Oh, and I'll be waiting for that feeling to come again. Oh, and I'll be waiting for that feeling to show me the way, yeah, back home. Ooh, into your arms, it's where I wanna stay, yeah, it's where I wanna be. In your arms, in your arms, ooh, yeah. It's where I wanna stay, it's where I wanna be. In your arms, it's where I wanna stay, it's where I wanna be. In your arms, in your arms, in your arms, ooh, in your arms. Just come back to me.
That's Alan Sweet with Run Back. It is prime feeding time for eagles of all sizes throughout the Mississippi Valley. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is actually in the middle of its annual eagle count to find out how healthy the bird population is this year. Last year's count of more than 1,500 birds was actually down slightly from the year before, but scientists say our warm weather last year may have been the cause of that, and that's certainly not a problem this year, it seems. It is also a perfect time to kick off Bald Eagle Days at the QCCA Expo Center. That'll be going on this weekend. But we wanted to talk about how cold it is out there and what caused it. How long will it last? And joining us is WQAD Chief Meteorologist James Zahara with a look at that. Hey, James.
Hi, Jim.
Long time no see. I mean, this is such bitter, cold temperatures that it's just diving down from the Arctic and from Canada. Our temperatures have been colder than Alaska or sometimes Antarctica over the past few days. What happened?
Well, I think we just had all the right ingredients there. Everything was all building up around the Arctic as far as all this cold air. And you may remember back in November, it was pretty warm, even like the first week or two of December. Well, while we were feeling nice and warm, all that real cold Arctic air was building. And all we had to do was just get that flow coming right out of the Arctic. And that's what we've been seeing throughout much of December and even going into this first week of January.
Well, and it's such a refrigerated chill of air. Why does it move out quicker? It seems to last longer than we would think.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, you always have to look at what the steering winds are doing aloft. I mean, those are the winds that really play a big role as far as who's going to be seeing the more seasonal, warmer than normal temperatures, or who's going to be seeing the below normal temperatures. And, you know, we have these little blocking patterns that take place, and it can happen at least once or twice during the winter season. So what we've been dealing with throughout these past few weeks, maybe it's been a good solid month, is that we're not in this zonal flow. The zonal flow is more of a west to east flow. And what we've been seeing for a good month has been this north to south flow. And as long as that doesn't break apart, then you're going to get these colder than normal temperatures. You throw a little snow into the picture, and that refrigerates the air even more. And that was the case in point, especially around the holidays when we had some extremely cold numbers for this time of year.
Well, when you said a zonal flow, you're talking about west to east. So that would make me think that if we were in that pattern, we'd see more snow rather than colder temperatures.
That's right. But if there's nothing caught in that flow, you don't expect to see much at all. In fact, that was a big concern going into December. You know, we finally get in this cold flow, but nothing was being caught and it produced any type of rain, or for that matter, even snow. And it wasn't until Christmas Eve that we saw a nice little wave coming on through that produced some of that snow. And, you know, that's a kind of a trend of what we're looking at as we go into not only the rest of January, but possibly February, because we're in this La Nina phase. It's a very weak one, but that usually around here indicates that we see a fairly active weather pattern. Either whether it may be snow or whether it may be rain. Okay. It all depends on what those temperatures are at the time.
So you were kind of hinting, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but why not?
Trending.
You were kind of hinting that it is possible that this cold days that we had seen, this real brutal cold snap, may be the worst we see this season.
I really think so. I think the deepest of this cold that we felt, I think, is gone. Will it get cold down the road? Absolutely, but nothing like we had. I think mainly because it takes a while to recycle all that cold air up in the Arctic to eventually try and make its way down. But that takes a while for it to do. And so I think in this process, I think we may be seeing that deep cold stay up in Canada, whereas we see, you know, temperatures expect to get below normal maybe a few more times as we go through the winter season, and not just for daytime highs, but for overnight lows as well.
When you have a brutal winter, does it have any indication of what your spring is going to be like?
Not necessarily. I think that has to do more with the timing than anything else. I mean, we have to look at these climatological patterns that take place, like we mentioned with El Niños and La Niñas, and give us maybe a hint of what we could actually see going to spring. I mean, precipitation plays a big role as well. And if we don't have any precipitation, let's say for the rest of the winter season, things look awfully dry going to growing season, and that may be a sign that we could be seeing some much warmer than normal temperatures, which I know farmers out there would not want to see.
You take a look at the president, who's already tweeted about this weather and talking about climate change and whether or not, you know, it'd be nice to have some of that warm weather. And there's a big difference between weather and climate. That people really need to understand is that just because it's really cold right now, it does not mean that the Earth isn't getting warmer.
Yeah, keep in mind that climate is a collection of data over a long period of time. And that's how we're able to determine, what type of patterns could potentially take place during a winter season, during a spring season, during a summer season, whereas weather is really more of a short-term thing given the ingredients that we have and computer forecast models that we're able to make these forecasts maybe 5, 6, 7 days out in a fairly accurate way. But as you get way out, 2, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, that's when you're limited with the information, and thus you only rely on trends and certain what we call analog patterns, a collection of data from past where we've seen these patterns before. It's almost what we call pattern recognition. We see that pattern, we remember that pattern, and we could potentially see that maybe in the given months, I would say.
And that's how you do the forecast.
I would say so, but
it's trends, as you were saying.
Absolutely, it's always trends, and that's what we're actually looking at, even going to mid and late January, where we're looking at some much warmer than normal numbers. Otherwise, your January thaw looks like it's on track, and that some cases, by looking at these analog patterns, you actually see these January thaws when you're dealing with a weak La Nina phase, and that's kind of what we're going to be looking at going later on this month.
What are we going to remember this winter for? Because let's be honest, we saw some record-setting temperatures, low temperatures, but you're also seeing a chill that sends all the way down into Florida. This particular system was massive, bringing cold weather to almost all of the 48 states. Is that becoming more usual, or is this a very unusual period?
Well, you're going to have two sides here on this. I mean, people who who believe in global warming believe that maybe this is part of it, where others it's just, we're just in that pattern, And I think there's always at least one wave that comes in that makes it really cold out there. And of course, this was certainly an exception. It was making its way all the way down to Florida. They even had some snow in Florida. But, we've been, old enough that we've heard stories and read stories about snow falling in Florida here and there. It can happen, but it's rare. And so I'm not, getting on the global warming ban as of yet, but these patterns can happen. And we've seen these patterns with all the analogs that we have seen in the past for a number of years around here. So it can happen. I think it's early on the winter season right now.
Right.
I mean, the first thing that people think of is, it has been extremely cold, not just locally, but throughout most of the country. Let's see what happens as we go into January and February, because that can all balance out, and that's what the weather likes to do. It always has a tendency of balancing things out.
And what we like to do is see light at the end of the tunnel and hope it's not an oncoming train,
That's right.
Of course. WQAD Chief Meteorologist James Zahara joining us, hoping that perhaps the worst of winter is done. WQPT is just weeks away from one of our most anticipated events of the year. Tickets for Champagne on the Rocks are on sale right now. You can join us at the Davenport Outing Club Friday, January 26th for dinner, an auction, and a chance for you to win a fine piece of jewelry. There's also a year's membership to the Outing Club, 7 nights at a Florida condo, University of Iowa football tickets. They're all at an auction, so head to our website, WQPT.org. See some of the other items that could be yours, and we hope to see you at Champagne on the Rocks, January 26th at the Davenport Outing Club. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device. Thanks for taking some time to join us. We talk about the issues on the cities.
Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Sing Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.